Hello and welcome to another edition of For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. My guest today is Veronica Kleinschmidt. She is the Community Service Representative with the Middletown Home Instead Senior Care Office. It's her first time on the show, so first of all, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
One of the big reasons that you're on is because September is World Alzheimer's Month, okay? Before we get to that, let's talk about your Home Instead Senior Care Office. Let's talk about what that is first and foremost.
We are located, my branch is located in Middletown, Connecticut, but we have offices all over the world, not just the United States. It was started in 1994 by Paul and Lori Hogan out of a need to care for Paul's grandmother in their home. And they realized there weren't enough local agencies to meet the need. And so they started Home Instead Senior Care. And we're nationwide, we're worldwide. It's just grown by leaps and bounds.
And so the key is, it was decided that a need was there to have people, you know, dignity is one word to use, but the ability for people to stay in their homes as opposed to just going to a facility, right?
Correct. We offer a wide range of services and we tailor it to fit the person's need. 1 hour to 24 hours and everything in between. Some people are living into their hundreds and don't have any money left. All they can afford is an hour. They maybe need a shower once a week, so that's all we give them if that's all they need.
You know, it's ironic, we're talking about Alzheimer's where, you know, it can shorten your life, and yet at the same time there are people that are living into their 90s, maybe to 100, and that's certainly not the norm and not expected, and what do you do then, you know?
The bottom line is to keep people home if that's where they want to be. And most people want to be in the home that they created, that they worked hard for.
Again,
so we try to make that happen.
Why would you want to go to a facility when you're in your home? Now, the thing about being in the home is, and where you come in to play is, as far as caregivers are concerned, maybe family or friends, it can be difficult for them and they need the extra help.
They do, and we do a lot of training, especially on Alzheimer's. It's the biggest issue we're dealing with as a home care agency. In this country, every 68 seconds, someone is diagnosed with Alzheimer's.
Wow.
And people are living into their hundreds. That's the norm now. And so we need to do extensive training on this issue because there are a lot of behaviors associated with Alzheimer's. And the thing that's very different about it is it's different in every single person. No two people are alike with Alzheimer's. Some people are very mellow and even-keeled, and others have a lot of agitation, a lot of disruptive behaviors. So we train our caregivers so they can manage them, they can help them, and keep them safe.
And are there different levels of severity when it comes to Alzheimer's too?
Early onset is short-term memory loss. It's not too bad. There's not too many disruptive behaviors, but as the disease progresses, it gets worse and worse. And like I said, it's different in everybody. I took care of my husband's grandmother in my home for 9 months before she passed, and she had advanced Alzheimer's. She had a little bit of wandering. That was the worst. It never got worse than that. But a lot of people get very agitated. They get very combative.
Yeah.
They're just very difficult, and you have to know how to manage those behaviors, how to redirect them, how to keep them safe and get through their little tantrums.
So for you, you were lucky in the sense that it wasn't a severe case that you were dealing with, but for other people, not so much.
Not so much, and you never know what to expect. As the disease progresses, you know, the behaviors do change, and it's different in everyone. So we like to be well-versed in all of the difficult behaviors.
What would be a layman's definition for people to understand what exactly Alzheimer's is? You talked about some of the symptoms and some of what people experience, but what is it as a disease?
It basically, I have a tool that I use when I teach the course to our caregivers. I have a 3-pound bag of rice and I have a 1-pound bag of rice. An average healthy brain weighs about 3 pounds. A brain after 10 years on Alzheimer's weighs a pound.
Wow.
It physically eats away at the tissue in your brain.
You know, there are more, I would imagine there are more and more diagnosed cases of Alzheimer's, but as time marches on, isn't, you know, medical research, isn't there, you know, progress being made, not only in the diagnosis of it, but in the treatment of it? So it's almost like you're hearing about more cases of Alzheimer's, but yet shouldn't we be advancing in the field a little bit?
Well, they still don't have a cure for a lot of cancers, too.
True.
I mean, there's a lot of research going on, and it's progressing. It has gotten better. We understand it better than ever before. And so we at Home Instead are not so focused on a cure as managing the behaviors, just keeping them safe, keeping them comfortable.
Right.
Quality of life.
Right. And what's more comfortable than being in your own home?
Exactly,
right? Yeah.
exactly.
With the way things are going now as far as cuts and, you know, Medicare and just, you know, health insurance in general, does that put a strain on people, and hence does it affect you? I know you're private, but
It does put a strain on people. I mean, the adult children, a lot of them are working full-time. They have young children at home, so they don't necessarily have the time. They may have the financial resources, but they don't have the time to go over and check on mom and dad every single day and make sure they took their meds and that they're, you know, bathing regularly, eating proper diet. There may be other conditions associated that they might be diabetic or even congestive heart failure, and those medical issues have to be addressed as well.
and some of those are very diabolical.
Very much so.
And there's a domino effect that occurs, and you know, one leads to the other, and then it becomes that much more difficult for the caregiver. In any case, when someone is considering utilizing your services, they may not know where to turn or what to do. What are some things? What is the first thing they ask you, and how can you steer them in the right direction?
Well, a lot of times we get a call from an adult child who's just doesn't even know where to begin. Just explain to me how it works, how do I get started, or point me in the right direction. This is what our budget is, this is what we need, what can you do for us? And sometimes if we're not the right fit, we point them in the right direction. We refer them to somebody who is a good fit.
Why wouldn't you be a right fit for somebody? What would be some reasons for that?
If they needed to go into nursing, skilled
Okay.
nursing, or we don't do any live-ins, and there are
Right.
agencies out there that's all they do is live-ins, and sometimes that's the best fit. You need
Right.
somebody around the clock, somebody who can have their own room, their own, you know, private
but
little...
really be there.
And really
Yeah.
be there 24/7.
Right.
So, and that's something that we don't do, but I refer to agencies that do. We want what's best for them, and it may not always be us.
Right.
There are also dementia places, that's all they do is dementia. Arden Courts in Farmington, there are places in New Britain, there's places all over the state that's all they do. And sometimes the dementia is so severe that that's really the right move for the family, to put them in a facility that is strictly dementia care.
Right. It's severe when they can no longer stay in the home that they really would like to be in, but that's in extreme cases.
Safety is a big issue. If they cannot stay home, even with a live-in, and be safe, then it's time to move.
Yeah.
And we hate to do that, but sometimes that's the case.
What is your sphere of service or influence as far as I know you're the Middletown office, but there are other offices. How does it work as far as how far out you will go?
Well, we each have designated territories.
Okay.
And like New London, Groton is part of our territory. But say Guilford office has Guilford, Trumbull office, they each have their own surrounding their office areas. And if we encounter somebody that's not in our territory, we call the other office and let them know we've got somebody in your territory. I'll give you the information, and if it's not something they can staff, they'll often give it back to us.
What are some of the duties and responsibilities of a community service representative?
I do a lot of marketing. I'm out in the public. I'm putting the Home Instead name out there.
Getting on TV shows, right?
Getting on TV shows.
Yeah.
I go to a lot of senior centers and I give talks on Alzheimer's and fall prevention and anything that particular group is interested in. I give out a lot of goodies and I follow up with a lot of these people and say, what's going on? Do you need some help? You know, maybe we can help you. And oftentimes they call and they say, I do. I don't drive anymore. Incidental transportation is something that we do because it's a big issue for a lot of people that don't drive. If the family can't come and get them, they're stuck at home.
Yeah.
They
And what
wanna
do you
go
do about food and you know, everything really?
food shopping, hairdresser, medical appointments. You know, there's Peapod. Peapod is great, and a lot of people use it. But some people want to go out to the store and be involved in the decision-making process of picking their own items.
And there's something to be said for, you know, the ability to simply socialize while you're out doing your grocery shopping. I mean, there's a mental aspect to that
Absolutely.
that's actually healthy to be doing that because you don't want to be cramped up in your house all the time.
We have a lady in Cromwell who likes to go to church on Sundays, and that's all we do for her is take her to church. They go out to eat after, and then she comes back home, but she wants to reconnect with her church family, and that was always a big part of her life when she was younger.
And it's not that difficult a task for your staff. I mean, it's a drive, you know, to church and to the restaurant and then back home.
Well,
you
the
know?
prerequisites are you have to, you know, most of our gals are certified nurses' aides, so there's a level of experience and a
Right.
level of training. They all have to have a reliable vehicle with insurance in their name because transportation has become such a big part of what we do.
Right.
We recognize when people stop driving that that's often a good thing.
Yeah, good for society in
Because
general.
there are more and more cars out
safety
there,
themselves.
and when they finally give up that key to the car, we applaud that and say, well, we'll take you wherever you need to go.
But also, it's a very scary moment when they give up that key because they feel, I would imagine, because I know I would feel that way, that a chunk of their freedom has been taken away from them.
Absolutely, and it has been. And with my own grandmother, when she lived at home, we would take turns going over there. Otherwise, she never got out of the house.
You know, having somebody close in your life, personally, family, be afflicted with an issue like this, was that almost a catalyst for you to be involved in what you do now?
Absolutely.
Don't you think
First-hand
that helped?
experience.
Yeah.
And I think I bring a lot to the table because I have had that experience with the disease, with someone who was a close family member who I was very close with, and watching her decline, and it's heartbreaking.
Right.
But at
And
least
you
you have the
feel-
tools to deal with a lot of that. This is one of the tools that we use. It's called the Life Journal.
Let's talk about that a little bit.
It's we try to capture if we come into a person's life in their early stage, we can, if they have family member, often a lot of people don't have any family. We try to capture who they were, significant life events, how many children they had, where they got married, where they went to school, different things that they did when they were younger, and we use it later on as the disease progresses as a tool to kind of recapture. They have no short-term memory left.
Yeah.
But 1943, they remember in vivid detail.
Right.
So we try to capture a lot of who they were before they lost themselves to this disease, and we use that, and it's a very significant tool. It really helps a lot.
Visually and mentally, by them looking through that sort of reconnects them, right?
Right, and sometimes we can get photos and put photos in here, and you'll open up the book, and there are days where they'll be like, I have no idea who this person is. And other days, they remember. Well, your favorite watering hole when you were a kid, and what happened the day you and your brother and sister went swimming and a bull chased you, and if you have a lot of that information, you can use that to recapture some of the memories.
Is it designed for them to kind of just refer to it whenever they feel they need to, or
Yeah.
will a caregiver kind of use it and sort of open it up to a certain section, just depending on what the situation calls for?
Yes, absolutely. What kind of a day they're having, what mood they're in. If it's raining out, maybe they don't want to go out, they want to just sit at home, and looking at pictures a lot. Depends what they did when they were young, too. We have a woman who's got advanced Alzheimer's, but we know she was a master quilter. She taught quilting. So we have swaths of clothing that she likes to stack. And she'll do that for hours and hours and hours, and it's something that it just kind of recaptures who she was when she was younger and the skill set that she had. And it's just something it's calming to her. If she becomes agitated, we bring out the big bucket of cloth and she'll start stacking them, and it just calms her down.
Right, it's almost therapy
Right,
in a way.
right.
Yeah. We mentioned that September is World Alzheimer's Month. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, it is, and we're going to be doing the walk in Hartford on September 22nd, along with many, many other people. We've got a lot of our caregivers that are going, not everybody, because some people have to work that day. But it's a really wonderful event, and it's just raises a lot of awareness, raises a lot of money for research to find a cure for this disease.
Now, I had some people on my radio show the other day talking about that walk. Fingers crossed that there'll be nice weather, because you always want that when you have a walk, and you can certainly walk at your own pace. They accept and encourage baby strollers if you got those to go out there and walk with too.
Absolutely.
The idea is to just bring awareness and get as many people involved as possible.
It's true, and a lot of people come. It's a very good event. I mean, last year it did rain a little bit. We all had our raincoats on, and
You weren't going to let that stop you, right?
This is New England. The
Yeah.
weather changes every 5
There
minutes.
could be snowing out right now for
You
all
have
we
to be
know.
prepared, you know?
Is the goal, as far as the walk goes, to just try to raise a little bit more money than you did the year before, or a few more people to be involved in it than the year before?
And to raise awareness and to
Yeah.
really educate people that it's not a death sentence, and it doesn't mean you have to go to a facility. As soon as you get an Alzheimer's diagnosis, there are things that can be done to slow the progression of the disease and to keep you at home.
What
if
about
that's where you wanna
preventative
be.
in the first place? They always say, working your brain, utilizing it while you're young because you can always, work your body out, but your brain you need to work out as well.
It's a muscle also, and
Yeah.
it needs to be worked out, absolutely, doing crossword puzzles and reading daily. And, the generation that we're talking about didn't have TV when they were young.
Right.
So a lot of them still read, or they like to be read too, and just brain stimulation exercises that to keep the brain functioning.
It's almost like as time goes on and better technology exists, it's also making it a little bit too easy on our lives, where you can sit in front of your smartphone or your laptop or your big TV, and your brain doesn't have to do too much. All it's doing is just absorbing but not really working, right?
We find that a lot of people with mid and end stage Alzheimer's are not so focused on TV. They find it more agitating because of the noise level. Their brain isn't processing information like it used to, and a lot of what's on television they don't understand. So they prefer more quiet activities to be read to, or a lot of them, really advanced.
That's calming, that's soothing, isn't
right.
it?
And at the very end, if you live long enough with Alzheimer's, you lose the ability to speak. the portion of the brain that controls speech is no longer there, and so you can no longer vocalize or verbalize what you want. But if we know who you were before you lost yourself, we can sometimes get back to you. We can capture you. We can get you to come out. There's a wonderful video on memorybridge.com. It was part of a PBS documentary on Alzheimer's, where this woman is a very close friend of a woman who is very end stage and she can no longer speak, and she knows that she was active in her church as a young woman and she liked Bible hymns, so she starts singing a song to her and she holds her face closely, and by the end, about 10 minutes in, this woman starts tapping her hand and she's actually able to say a few words of the song.
Wow.
Which is, you don't always get through like that, but if you have the tools, sometimes you can, even end stage, you can bring them back for a brief moment.
So you're triggering a memory that still exists in that person's mind.
Exactly.
And you're kind of bringing it to the front so that they remember and they're actually participating at that point.
And this is something that we developed exclusively, and it's been a wonderful tool. If you can get them, or they have family member that you can get a lot of information about them. What did they do for a living? What were their interests? What was their life like? And for most women who are mothers, a young mother was the best time in their life. They were happy, they were busy, they were needed. So recapturing a lot of those memories when their children were young is a very useful tool.
Now, your job, at Home Instead Senior Care is to kind of just make them comfortable. But do you also keep track of how medical progress is being made in the
Absolutely.
in it,
We have
so
a
you can see?
website. We have
Yeah.
links on our website that we're constantly getting updated
What is
on.
the website?
It's homeinstead.com.
Okay, so it's a simple website. And talk about what's on the website for
There's
people to
all
go and
kinds.
see.
There's called the Franchise Center, and it's a link to different services like memory impairment and Alzheimer's, and what's the difference between dementia and confusion. I mean, there's a lot of differences, and Alzheimer's is different than dementia. There's,
Right.
There's vascular dementia. There's lots of different kinds of dementia, and sometimes people are misdiagnosed. We have a woman that we're caring for about 6 months now. And in August of last year, she was teaching calculus at the University of Connecticut.
Wow.
And now she puts her shoes on the wrong feet and she can't figure out how to button her shirt because she has vascular dementia. She had a series of strokes,
Okay.
which affected that part of her brain. And she was originally misdiagnosed, and she doesn't have Alzheimer's, which is good.
Yeah.
She has vascular dementia, so there are things that we can do. We're helping care for her several days a week. She's with her husband, but he can't get anything done because she's very clingy. She has
Yeah.
to be with him all the time. So we come in to kind of give him a break and to keep her safe and to keep her engaged.
And we were talking about this earlier, but that's the thing. We talk about the patient, the person that's going through it themselves, but people that are around them, family, close friends, it's a daunting task for them too, and they can get frustrated too. So what do you have to say to them? What can they do?
We have outreach that we do for the family of the person with Alzheimer's, seminars they can come to. On September 16th, there's an iPhone app coming out. It's a free app that you can click on, and you can download information, and it will tell you, you'll put in a few specifics, and it will give you all kinds of resources and information about that particular type of dementia or the different stage of Alzheimer's. It's very different in the beginning than it is at the very end.
Yeah.
And it will give you all kinds of information and community resources that you can go to.
You're keeping up with the times when you have when there's an app available.
Well, it's not out yet, but it will be in a few weeks.
Right. But I mean, the fact that they're actually doing it. Are you guys plugged into social media? I mean, are you on Facebook and everything? 'Cause
Yes,
it's very
absolutely.
networky.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Very high tech.
Yeah.
We are on Facebook.
And that's where, because it's one thing to have a website, but a website is very static. You can go and get information, but the social media is very networky, and people can comment on it and share with others, and that's really how you kind of get the word out and spread the word.
Absolutely. We have access to blogs that people who are caring for an aging parent and going through this, and they'll blog about it. And it's very helpful to read some of that, saying, hey, I'm not alone. This woman is going through exactly the same thing I'm going through, and what is she doing that I'm not doing? And so there's just all kinds of information out there. And this is for the adult children of the person.
Yeah.
The people themselves, most seniors don't have a computer. They're
right.
not tech savvy.
Yeah.
So it's mainly for the adult children or the family members, whoever is taking care of them.
Again, this is something we mentioned just a little bit ago, but preventative, do you encourage it? Are there things that people can do, like you said, do a crossword puzzle, use your brain? Preventative, in other aspects of life, they always talk about preventative, so why not with this too?
Absolutely, brain engaging exercises.
Yeah.
This is the generation that read a lot, so crossword puzzles and card games and things that stimulate you mentally, that make you think about something.
Yeah, very important, and you're only doing yourself a favor later on in life. This is a something that I ask people. There might be a stigma involved. There certainly is a stigma involved with a disease like Alzheimer's. It's also, it can be something where people might feel awkward about talking about, or kind of will shy away from, because number one, they don't understand it, and number two, there might be a stigma about it because it's a, you know, a brain, a mind disorder disease.
So it's important to educate your neighbors. My mom is living with us now, and she has Alzheimer's. So if you see her walking down the street, call us or do something, because she's not supposed to be.
Right.
She has this disease and she's not aware of what she's doing a lot of the time, and wandering is one of the behaviors that's very common. My husband's grandmother wandered. That was the issue that I had with her.
Yeah.
And so if you put black rugs in front of all the doors, there's a spatial, you know, discrepancy. They can't see. They think there's a hole there, and they won't cross that.
Oh.
Instead of putting alarms on all the door, which can be kind of obnoxious
Yeah.
to the rest of the family, we put the black rugs, and she wouldn't go past them because she thought it was a big hole.
That's fast. Somebody discovered that at some point, that trick works. That's amazing, you know.
Color has an effect too.
Yeah.
Purple is the color of Alzheimer's for a reason. People respond to bright colors like purple or
Right.
red or green, whereas black and white not so much.
Now, you mentioned that you wore your purple outfit today on purpose because just for observance of.
Well, this is World Alzheimer's
Yeah,
Month, and
that's
you know,
right.
it is the color of the Alzheimer's Association, who we are closely connected with, and we do a lot. They come to our caregiver meetings and speak, and we have Maria Tomasetti, who's in the Hamden branch, will come, and she is living with her father who has Alzheimer's. Her mother had it, has passed, and now she's reliving it again with her father.
And this is another example of being involved in this because somebody close to you is experiencing it, and that kind of draws you in, and you have a vested interest in wanting to be involved and get the word out in some way.
And sharing information with
Yeah.
people. For example, we had Thanksgiving at my house, and she would look at you and say, and you're who, and you're who, and you're who, over and over and over, no short-term memory.
After you've been introduced already. Yeah.
Well, this is her family, her children, her grandchildren, her great-grandchildren. So I made a name tag for everybody, very similar to the one I'm wearing, and everybody wore it to dinner, and they all felt a little funny at first, but she would read, Veronica, granddaughter, oh, I know who you are. Instead of asking you repeatedly,
Right.
she would look at everybody's name tag because she could still
Isn't
read.
that less embarrassing?
And after a while, everybody thought it was great, and they
Yeah.
could actually have an engaging conversation with her because she knew who they were. It would take her a minute to remember, but she would remember something about them when they were younger, and they could have a conversation. So it was a tool that I used that worked for me.
Yeah.
That may not work for everybody, but I shared that with people, and they're like, wow, that's a great idea.
Hey, you know what? People use name tags at functions where you know, Alzheimer's isn't an issue at all, and they're
I go to a
using
lot
it.
of networking events
Yeah.
because I'm in marketing, and everybody has a name tag on, and it's nice because you can just say, oh yeah, Denise, that's right, I remember you now.
That's right.
But I'm terrible with names, so I'm thankful for the name tags.
You know, one misconception, and I use that word a lot on shows, is when, you know, suddenly you realize you don't remember something or remember somebody's name. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're in the initial stages of Alzheimer's.
Not at all.
And that's a big misconception, I think.
We're all a little sleep deprived nowadays.
Yeah.
We all work full time. We have active social lives, and
Yep.
if you have a couple of kids in the mix, you know, you've got sporting events, and
Things are going to slip. you
they
know?
are. We all have our senior moments, I call them, because you know we're all a little we're overtired. We don't get enough sleep in this society.
But I use that word misconceptions. That this would certainly be a subject matter where there are some of those regarding this, and what are some of them as far as you're concerned?
Confusion, mistaking confusion with dementia, and there's two totally different things.
Right.
When you come out of the grocery store and you can't find your car in the parking lot, you may be having a bad day. That doesn't mean you have dementia
Right.
or Alzheimer's. It's just you're having a brain fog.
Yeah.
And you just can't remember where you parked your car.
Right. And
I mean, I've had that happen where I have my company car and I've taken my private vehicle and I thought I had the other car and I'm looking for one car and it's not there. So, I mean, it's just a lot of misconceptions. It's best to get diagnosed. They do a series of blood tests. They do a brain scan. They do sit down and ask you questions. And they determine whether you have either dementia or what type of dementia or Alzheimer's. They're two totally different.
How early do people start developing symptoms?
They're diagnosing people earlier and earlier, now in their 40s and 50s.
But is it a good thing that they can diagnose early because maybe treatment can be there?
There's a gene that they can look for, and there is.
Yeah.
And if you get it early on, you can take like the Exelon patch. There are medications you can take that will slow the progression of the disease. It's not a cure,
Right.
but early stage, it will slow the progression. And that's a big deal. It really is.
Right. Are you hopeful that there can be, as close to a cure as there can possibly be?
I am.
Do you see a light at the end of the
I
tunnel?
do. I am
Yeah.
hopeful. There's so much, we're so focused on this now, like we are in many
Right.
different types of cancer. I think that a cure will be found. I hope it will be.
And I think Alzheimer's is, it is getting a lot of attention, and the word is being spread, and it is out in the open now, and I think people are paying attention to it because it could affect all of us or somebody that we know in our life. Just like you said, like cancer, somebody that's affected by it.
I mean, I think everybody I know knows somebody who either has or has had some form of cancer. And Alzheimer's it's the biggest issue that we're dealing with as a home care agency.
Do a lot of people go undiagnosed in this
A lot of
country,
people
in this
do.
world? Yeah.
Especially if they're seniors and they live alone, if the
Yeah.
spouse has passed away. Or we have several clients that never married or had children. And they're only children, they have no siblings, they have no family.
Yeah.
So they're alone all the time. So unless somebody like Home Instead or an agency comes into the home on a regular basis, it does go undetected.
We are just about out of time, so I want you to give out the website one more time.
It's www.homeinstead.com.
So they can go to the website, or if they have any other questions, maybe they can call you or somebody
Absolutely.
at your office.
860-316-2531 is the branch number.
All right. And we'll put a graphic up on the screen for the website and phone number too. Veronica Kleinschmidt, the community service representative for Middletown's Home Instead Senior Care Office, because there are other offices besides yours, right?
Statewide, nationwide, and worldwide. We're in Denmark, in Japan, we're in China, we're all over the world now.
Hey, if you want to call Japan or
I know.
Denmark, you can do that too. But it was your first time on the show, so again, I want to thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. It was delightful.
And thank you for joining us for another edition of For the Record. You can see this show and many others on our YouTube site. For now, I'm Sean Murphy. This is For the Record. We will see you next time. Take care.